What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of Café con Santos. I am your host, Ricardo Hernandez. In this episode, I got a chance to talk with one of my good friends from Jornadas, Alejandra Gomez. We were able to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that she's gone through throughout her life, and also just some of the work that she's involved with here in Southwest Detroit. So please get your coffee ready because this show is starting in 3, 2, 1, go. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo.
Amén.
Amén. Señor, gracias por este día. Thank you for allowing Alejandra and me to come together to make this podcast. We ask you, Lord, that this podcast draws a lot of people to your church, and that it could help a lot of people who may be going through a difficult time right now. I ask that you send your Holy Spirit to guide this conversation and also just join us so that this could be a great podcast. Te lo pedimos en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo.
Amen.
Amen. Well, Alejandra, hey everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 5 of Café con Santos. Today we have a special guest. We have another one of the Jornadas OGs. Now, she's not as OG as Ruth, but she is, I would say, one of the, I don't want to say new, you're kind of older than a lot of the new people, but no offense, but she's pretty much still an OG. Yeah. If this is your first time listening to Café con Santos, Café con Santos is a little bit about different things. First of all, we have a Facebook page where we pray daily Facebook Live rosaries. Every day we pray for something different, and we've been praying there ever since the pandemic started. And we also have this podcast where I get to interview some of my friends, some spiritual directors, and other members of the community who I know, or like Sister Desiree in the previous show, don't know, but know of them and know that they're going to bring something great to the show. So I welcome you again, Alejandra.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we start, do you have any questions?
No questions. I think I'm ready.
Okay, so don't be too nervous. If I mess up, if you mess up, we mess up together.
Perfect.
All right, thumbs up. Okay, but before we get started, I have to ask you the most important question, and there's only one correct answer, so no pressure. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Do you like coffee?
Yes, but I prefer mushroom coffee.
Mushroom coffee. What's that? I mean,
So mushroom coffee, it's not the type of mushroom that people would assume. Mushroom coffee.
we're not doing drugs over here.
No. Mushroom coffee helps more with the concentration. It's actually a very sweet type of coffee. And I actually really enjoy it because it helps me to concentrate. And so I wasn't really much of a big coffee person, but slowly I've been entering into that realm.
Wow. Well, this is my first time trying this mushroom coffee. I'll let you guys know later if I die. I'm just playing. No, I love coffee, and I'm exploring all different flavors of coffee with, who knows, maybe in the future one day starting my own coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys listen to episode 1, aka the genesis of Café con Santos, you guys will know what I'm talking about. But with that out of the way, Alejandra, I want to start our segment of Ask Alejandra.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're going to have to answer as honestly as possible.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a very difficult one. I think I would have to go with the power of healing.
Healing. Oh, I haven't heard that one in a while. Do you have a devotion to any saint?
Yeah, Saint Joan of Arc.
Oh, okay. Are you a dog or a cat person?
I'm definitely a dog person. I do not like cats.
Hey, nothing against cats, but I'm a dog person. What set of mysteries do you like the most when praying a rosary?
I would go with Gozosos, even though I know the Dolorosos by heart. So.
Gozosos, nice. What is your favorite dessert?
Chocolate, dark chocolate.
Alejandra, if you guys want to know one thing about me, sorry about that. It is that I don't really like chocolate.
I don't know. We can't be friends.
I know, and I probably just lost all of my audience, but that is okay. Were you always Catholic?
Yes.
What is one thing that most people do not know about you?
That I am actually very outgoing. I can seem very shy.
If you were not working at UNI, what type of work do you imagine you would be doing right now?
I actually don't know. I think I just would want to be working with a community in a different area.
What song hypes you up?
I mean, in the space that we are now with like in a more Catholic interview, I really like.
Muy profesional.
O sea, I was kidding. I really like the song Oceans, but with KB, he does it in a rap style. So I've been listening a lot to that lately.
What was the song again?
Oceans.
Oceans.
So from Hillsong United, but it has like this
okay.
R&B twist to it.
Nice. Okay, and then lastly, if you could be the patron saint of something, what would it be?
It's funny because I always think about based on the other podcast I had. It's funny how my mind also went to like those that don't have a voice, like the people that don't have that voice. But I would have to say, I think for children that are abused, that would be, I think, where I would go.
Nice. Well, thank you, Alejandra, for this segment of Ask Alejandra. And that now that we got that part of the podcast done, I want to say, se me olvidó empezar con lo primero.
Oh, no.
I didn't even introduce you.
Oh, no.
Well, I kind of said her name, Alejandra, but there's more to you. You are actually, you work for a nonprofit organization called Urban Neighborhood Initiatives in Southwest Detroit. You are an alumni of the University of Michigan.
Go Blue.
So go Blue. And like I said, you're another of the OGs of Jornadas. And for those jornaleros who are listening, you are also the wife of the infamous Marcos Roque.
That's me.
You want to say anything to Marcos right now when he's listening to this?
I love you.
Sweet. Well, Alejandra, if you don't mind, for this next segment of the podcast, could you just walk us through your testimony about where you come from, maybe some struggles you've had in life, and then overall how you came to know God and, be a part of the Catholic faith?
Yeah, definitely. So I was born in California, and I lived there until I was 8. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, and so we moved to Detroit when I was 8, and it was a very actually difficult time. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a very outgoing person, and that's kind of my nature, but I've become very shy. And I think it all started from that point when we moved from California. I was very outgoing, I remember, in school, and even though Spanish was my first language, I was never bullied, and I also never thought that being as a problem or as a thing. And then going to school here in Detroit, it was much different, but I still enjoyed it. But I feel that I witnessed a lot of things before coming to Detroit that really had me scared, and it's a different environment. So don't get me wrong, I love Detroit, and it will always have a special place in my heart. But I think Detroit has always had this reputation, especially if you're not from there and you're, you come from another place, being 8 years old and hearing like, oh, you're going to a very bad place. There's a lot of gangs and stuff like that. It just like triggered a lot of trauma for me. And so I think that growing up, I became very like into myself. And I think that I've always been Catholic. My mom, my mom and my dad went to church every Sunday, and I'll still go to church. And so I've always had a very close relationship with God, thankfully. But I think I was missing that relationship with myself. Like I said, when that happened, I became very disconnected from myself, and I think I let fear take over me. And so it became very easy to not trust myself, to not have confidence in myself. And with that, even though I loved God, how can I love someone if I don't love myself, right? And so, yeah.
And so this started like around the age of 8, and for about how long would you imagine that you were going through that period where it was kind of like a difficult transition, just because, like you said, you're moving from a completely different environment and coming into Detroit. Until like what age did that happen, or was it like even to this day you're like don't know who you are?
Who am I? So it's funny because it was 10 years. Wow. I lived my jornada when I was 18. And I was fresh out of high school. So I went through a lot of, low self-esteem, in a way, depression and anxiety, all throughout, my elementary, middle, and high school years. And I graduated from high school, knowing that I wasn't happy.
What high school was that, by the way?
Western International High School.
Western.
Go Cowboys. And so I graduated from high school and went directly to college. So I started college that following year, in the fall. And at that same time, the retreat Jornadas came about in my life. And so I was not going to go, but I ended up going, and it was the best decision I could have made.
That's an interesting story, that you weren't originally going to go, and then you go. I feel like that happens a lot in retreats.
Yes, it's not a shocking moment.
Because if you guys hear, again, the Genesis, you'll hear that I also wasn't going to go to the Jornadas retreat. And it took about 3 times maybe before I finally decided to go. And so, like I said earlier, Alejandra actually graduated from U of M. Were you a first-generation college student?
I was, yes.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah,
that experience?
That it was definitely very challenging, and at the same time it was very empowering. I think going to college, even though being a first generation college student, and my parents, I think, went up to elementary in Mexico, and so it was very difficult to get information right at home. So it was a lot of I had to get information in other places, and I think that even though it was very difficult, my parents always encouraged me to follow that road, because it was something that I really wanted to do. There was moments where I wanted to drop out. There was a time, and I remember in sophomore year, that I told my dad, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with school.
Bye,
like
Felicia.
Seriously, like I was, and it goes back again with that confidence, right? I was like, I'm not. Because honestly, it was a shock to me going to school, and there's a lot more people that are so much, or perceived to be much smarter than you, and so, or than myself at that time. And so I was like, this is not for me. Like, college is probably not for me. And so I was not happy with my major. I was a bio major. And so I told my dad, you know what? I'm just going to drop out and work full time. And then when I get the money, I'll go back. And he was like, you're right. So seriously. So he was like, nope, you're going to fail as many times as you need to fail, but you're going to get your degree. So.
That's some good. What was that? You need to fail as many times as you need to?
Exactly.
Wow. That's awesome. I think you bring up a good point. Like, a lot of us first generation college students, we're in an environment where this is the first time for all of us. Our parents perhaps come from, Mexico or another Latin American country. And it's like they don't really understand that struggle. Whereas a lot of our, white allies are there, with a lot more resources. Not to say that they don't go through struggles as well, but it's different. And I didn't want to bring this up, but there was a story I heard about some college students at U of M who said that they started their organization or their company from the bottom up. Come to find out that their father is like a billionaire or millionaire who is paying for most of their products. I won't say who it is just because I don't want to, make anybody think bad of these people, but it's just something to say that we grow up in different kind of atmospheres. Exactly. And so you said you lived the Jornadas retreat at 18, and it was still a bit challenging to grow with your confidence.
Yeah.
How do you think that confidence went while you were a part of Jornadas, like in college?
So it definitely, I feel that senior year in high school, once I graduated from senior year, I knew that feeling like that wasn't normal. And so I was really sick and tired of feeling that I wasn't worth anything. I was sick and tired of feeling that I had no value. And so what ended up happening is that I was upset because I was like, I don't want to feel this way, but it's like much easier said than done. So at that point, I was like, I need something in my life and to be able to help me, right? And at that time, I did not know it was Jornadas. I did not go to the primera pre-jornada, and I was like, oh well, I can't go anymore. Oops. So the second pre-jornada, the person that invited me was actually called me, and I was sleeping. And
you want to do a shameless plug who that person was?
Yeah, so Kevin, and
shout out to Kevin. Yeah. I don't know who you are, but shout out to Kevin.
And Cynthia Lomeli.
Shout out to Cynthia Lomeli.
Yeah, so he was like, you know what? I'm outside your house. And I'm like, oh, amazing. Okay. So I had to get up. I had to go. And at that time, went to the segunda pre-jornada. And, I liked it. It was good. But I was still very hesitant. I'm not too much of going to retreats. It freaks me out.
At this point, were you, like, did you previous go to other retreats?
No.
So this was like your first retreat. Did you have because I think I've said this before, I have had this idea of like, no, eso es para los cristianos, crazy kids,
Yeah, I always
bunch
had
of losers.
I didn't think much like that. But dang. No, but I think the way that I thought is that I was so shy and I was so scared to be vulnerable. Like I was so scared to be with other people that I did not know. And especially because I have been to other retreats, but they're like half-day retreats for like the confirmation or like, so it's not really a retreat, it's more of like formación. But it was like a 3 or 4 day, I don't even remember, it was a 4-day 3-night. I was like, that's like, I love my house, I'm a homebody, like for whoever. Like, I think everybody knows this, that's why I didn't share it, but I'm a homebody. And so
what's a homebody?
Someone who loves to be home.
Ooh.
Like I just, yeah, the definition. And so I don't know. I said I wasn't gonna go. And then Jorgito,
shout out to Jorgito,
saw that I was very like, by the end, I was like, you know what? I need to go. I had a exam that like Monday coming back from the retiro. So I was like, I'm not gonna be able to go. And so I told him, no voy a poder ir, but I'm gonna sit here in the back. And then there was a charla at that time. Say that.
Yeah.
Can people know there's charlas?
Well,
I'm not going to go into detail.
We're not going to say what happens, but there obviously it was a retiro and there was a talk.
I mean, yes. So I'm sorry if I ruined anyone's moment, but if not, here, oh well. And so something like at that point, the person who was talking like grabbed my attention in a way that I was like, I'm going to go to the retiro. Like it was so strange because I ended up calling Wednesday and reserving my spot and all of that good stuff. And till this day, Jorgito always tells me like, y la que no quería venir. And I'm like, I know, but I'm so thankful for those people that were so insistent, because I knew I wanted something different. And God was like, I have this. And I'm like, no, but it's not that. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want you to just change me. Like, can it be an easy process where I just wake up loving myself? Like, why can't that happen?
Oh, man. Well put. I think I can relate with that, with God, just give me the answers, open the clouds, let me know what you want. But it's like, it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah.
And we're on a path towards our own, working on our sanctification through the grace of God. And so in this life, we're also kind of getting rid of things that are holding us back, causing us to sin. In a way, purging. I don't know if that's the correct wording, but purging us of the things that are keeping us from, being holy, being in the presence of God. And so, I mean, it's not easy choosing a completely different way of life. Was it, I don't know, was it easy for you, or was it difficult, or what was that, transition? So you lived a retreat, you're like, whoa, what just happened? Now you're back in college, you've got kind of like a struggle with who you are as a person. Were there like graces in your life at that point that you were like, whoa, I see God is doing things. Yeah, it's a little bit hard, but things are going better?
Yeah, definitely. I think that when, thank goodness, being in high school and even being in college, I was never peer pressured. And so even though my confidence wasn't the best, um, I always knew to respect myself. And so I think that in leaving the retreat, it opened my eyes to be able to open that relationship with myself. It had been something that I was very afraid to do, even though I really wanted to do that. It was really scary to be just real with myself and grow at the same time. I'm a perfectionist, and being a perfectionist is actually not a good thing. Like, being a perfectionist sucks. Like, it's not that I want to do everything perfect. It's just I feel like I'm not worthy enough or perfect enough to do the things. And so I think that in living the retreat and seeing, all of the wonderful things that God has done through me in the service of the retreat, and it, pause. When I lived the retreat, I did not join Escuela because I know Ruth talked a little bit more about Escuela. I didn't join Escuela right away. I took like a gap year and a half gap year. I don't know. And so in that time, even though I had lived this retreat and I had these tools, I was still like, yes, I was getting somewhere, but it was taking me much, much longer. And so once I decided, you know what, I'm going to get into Escuela, it's like things just started to look out for me in a much better way. And I think what changed was the people that I surrounded myself with. Being with people that were just so kind and so funny. And I am mean. I'm very mean sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm, what the listeners or viewers might not know is that I'm pretty sarcastic with her, and oftentimes she does stuff and expects something out of me, and I like kind of just shrug it off and kind of hurt her feelings, but that's okay because that's how we roll.
Yes, I've learned to accept that, but I've gotten a few laughters here and there, so I'm good. I'm good. See, that's what he does. Like, honestly, like there'll be times that I'm like, wow, I love myself. Like, I say the funniest things and I look over and he's like with the darkest. I'm like, that was funny. Just a dead stare. Like, I'm like, come on, laugh. But that and saying goodbye, I think that's another thing.
Yeah. When I first started going to Jornadas, I was still commuting. Well, I was at U of M, going back Saturdays to go to Jornadas. And so once we were finished with our session, I would go straight back to Ann Arbor. And oftentimes I wouldn't even say bye to everybody. I'd just kind of be like, whoop.
Yeah, out of nowhere, we would literally be in the room and then I'd be like, Ricardo? And then we're like, he left. I'm like, he left? Like, he didn't even say bye. He's like, yeah, he doesn't say bye.
Yeah, I was already halfway to Ann Arbor by then.
He was already in Ann Arbor. And I'm over here like, wait, he left? Like, what's going on? So I constantly reminded him of that.
Yeah. So, and then I guess now, you've been in Jornadas for a while.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're old, but you've just been in Jornadas for a while. What do you think some of, in addition to what you just mentioned, what have been the fruits of being involved in Jornadas?
I think that, besides my growth, my personal growth, I think with my relationships, especially with my husband. So being able to meet my husband, we lived the Jornada like the exact same year.
Aww.
He used to get on my nerves. But being able to share that experience and share the faith with someone, I think was my biggest not wish, but my biggest prayer to God was to I didn't date much, if at all, when I was in during my high school years. And so it was always because I just felt that I just needed to wait for that right person. And I think with a lot of prayer, I was able to, find that right person. It sounds very cliche, honestly, like it sounds very cliche, but it's true. Like I was able to find, not find, because it's not like I was looking for him at the retreat. So I don't want to sound like I'm going to the retreat to find someone. Like, no, that was not my intention. But I think it was just very easy since we were in the same like ambiente, like, in the faith,
I mean, good things happen when you're around other holy people.
Exactly. So that's what happened. So now we've been married for actually 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. And so it's been great.
And actually, if you could see this background or just this wall.
Right.
This is actually the basement de La Familia Roque, La Familia Gomez. Are you Gomez Roque or just...
No, I'm actually Gomez Casillas, but it's all good.
Okay.
Never changed my name, but it's all good.
Hey, I mean, that kind of seems similar to your shirt. What does that say?
The future is female.
I guess. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Ale, for sharing a little bit. Not a little bit. That was a lot about your story, but I'm sure that the listeners enjoyed all of that. So we are now, I hope so too. We're now gonna go into a short break to listen from our sponsors.
A few moments later.
And we are back. I hope you enjoyed that sponsor because I'm about to share yet another sponsor with you. This time, I want to share with you our sponsor of today. Roque Painting.
Nice.
Shout out to Marcos. If you are in need of some professional, some top quality painting for your business or your home, reach out to Alejandra's husband, who will do an awesome job. I will make a promise, but it'll be some good stuff. Any shameless plugs for your husband?
He's the best. Midwest.
What do you want more? He is the best in the Midwest. All right. So Ale just finished sharing her testimony, and now we're going to be talking about the saint of this show, which is, drumroll, Saint Joan. Second try. Drumroll. Saint Joan of Arc. Is it Joanne or Joan?
I say Joanne, but I'm pretty sure it's Joan.
¿Cómo se dice en español?
Santa Juana.
Santa Juana de
Arco.
De Arco. I would have said Arca, but that's why we have you here.
Thank you.
So like in the previous shows, the way this works is I'm just going to share a little bit about the saint's biography. In this case, I'm going to share with you a brief story of Saint Joan of Arc. And it'll be shorter than the one from the previous episode. That way, my guest isn't there just kind of sitting there awkwardly, But anyways, we're going to start with this. Saint Joan of Arc's story. Burned at the stake as a heretic after a politically motivated trial, Joanne was beatified in 1909 and canonized in 1920. Born of a fairly well-to-do peasant couple in Domremy, Roux, southeast of Paris, Joan was only 12 when she experienced a vision and heard voices that she later identified as Saints Michael the Archangel, Catherine of Alexandria, and Margaret of Antioch. During the 100 Years' War, Joan led French troops against the English and recaptured the cities of Orleans and Troyes. This enabled Charles VII to be crowned as king in Reims in 1429. Captured near Compiègne the following year, Joan was sold to the English and placed on trial for heresy and witchcraft. Professor at the University of Paris, supported Bishop Pierre Cauchon of Bievus. The judge at her trial, Cardinal Henry Beaufort of Winchester, England, participated in the questioning of Joan in prison. In the end, she was condemned for wearing men's clothes. The English resented France's military success, to which Joan contributed. On this day in 1431, Joan was burned at the stake in ruin, and her ashes were scattered in the Seine River. A second church trial 25 years later nullified the earlier verdict, which was reached under political pressure. Remembered by most people for her military exploits, Joan had a great love for the sacraments, which strengthened her compassion toward the poor. Popular devotion to her increased greatly in 19th century France and later among French soldiers during World War I. Theologian George Tovard writes that her life offers a perfect example of the conjunction of contemplation and action, because her spiritual insight is that there should be a unity of heaven and earth. Joan of Arc has been the subject of many books, plays, operas, and movies. Saint Joan of Arc is the patron saint of France and military members. So that's Joan of Arc. I'm sorry, I kept saying Joan and Joanne. I hope you guys don't mind. Did anything about that biography stand out to you?
Yeah, I think that definitely being able to have time to contemplate and then take action really resonated with me. I think I do that. I think I contemplate more than take action. So being able to have more of the taking action part of it.
So you shared earlier that you had a devotion to Saint Joan of Arc. Where did that devotion start from?
I did my confirmation when I was 18. I actually did my confirmation the same day I graduated from high school. So morning I graduated and I got confirmed in the afternoon. I think that in looking, I've always I don't look too much at saints to pray or to meditate or anything like that. But there's like Santo Toribio I grew up with in terms of knowing of him, and a few others, but I've never heard of Saint Joan of Arc. And I think that what happened is that our confirmation class catechist, you have to pick a saint to be able to represent you or your be your name for your confirmation. And I decided to do some research and find a saint. And I mean, like I said, the future is female. So I wanted to ensure I found a saint that was a woman, so I could feel a lot more connected to. And actually at that time, I was also even thinking like, should I go to the army? Like, I don't know. There was a lot going on in my mind. A lot of decisions that I wanted to make, but wasn't sure if that was the right for me. But anyways, I think St. Joan of Arc's story really sparked because it was truly a story around someone who denied their identity to follow Christ, to follow God, and had those visions of the other saints, the other three saints that they mentioned. And I think the other thing that shocked me the most was she did something that, that especially back then, be in the military, lead military men into war and win, and then do it in a way that she's so young. It just, I don't know, it just inspired me, and I'm like, wow, she was so young and she did all of this, and even though that unfortunately she was betrayed, and her life ended in a very brutal way, I think she lived the life that she had envisioned from those callings and was not scared.
Yeah, I mean, I think Saint Joan of Arc is someone that a lot of people kind of know, not knowing the religious side or the the Catholic or Christian side of who she was as a person. But I think even people who don't know much about the Christian faith know that there in time existed a strong woman who was leading armies and whatnot. And I think that that idea of a strong person but a strong young woman kind of is like very, I don't know if captivating or kind of like inspiration in a way.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like inspirational to you?
It definitely was. I think that being able to see the amount of faith that she had, um and because it wasn't like, oh, Joan, do you want to be in the army? No, she had to go in front of the king or whoever was selecting and allowing them to go to war, to be able to convince them of her visions and be able to convince them of what she's seen, and what she thinks was the best move. And for them to have said, okay, do it, like, it's not gonna be like, oh, this 18-year-old girl, what is
And
she
keep
gonna
in
know?
mind, we're talking about old time, a old point in time where there were, how would you describe that culture?
um I mean, I don't know if it would be like, like not much cheese, like very, not, but
Very conservative, I
yeah,
suppose.
like,
There was the culture that they had. Men did things and women did things.
mhm,
Obviously today some of that exists, but back in the day, obviously it was to another level. And so uh Joan was actually, like we said earlier, hearing uh, voices. And a lot of secular people will be like, well, she had schizophrenia or psychosis. But that in itself, to be in a point in time where you're a woman, but now you're a woman who's hearing voices, they were like, yo, this girl's crazy, she's a
mhm,
witch,
mhm,
and she's saying she has messages from God. Oh no.
mhm.
But she continued on, and even until it cost her her life. And I just want to share a little story about a quote, which is uh, one of the quotes, I am not afraid, I was born to do this. So that quote is not the full quote. The full quote is from like a story, which is this. um, as Joan of Arc was leaving Vaucouleurs, I have no idea how to say that, to begin her mission to save France, she was asked by a woman, how can you make such a journey when on all sides are soldiers? To which Joanne responded, I do not fear the soldiers, for my road is made open to me. And if the soldiers come, I have God, my Lord, who will come, who will know how to clear the route that leads to Messire Dafon. It was for this that I was born. So just imagine that confidence to be like, yo, there's like some people, aren't you afraid they're gonna kill you? Nah, no te preocupes, I got Jesus.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one of those moments where it's like, if someone was in your same position, they might be struggling, but because you have that identity as a beloved daughter of God, you're like, meh.
Yeah, I think that, especially around, I think nowadays people get very stressed over materialistic things, or get very stressed over just things that, yes, are important but are not the most important. And so I think sometimes, being able to shrug that off. But I think that in itself, it's very, very inspiring and helps me remind for my own self, because I think that, especially now with the pandemic, the amount of anxiety that I felt during this time has been very, very unbelievable. In a way, I'm like, I've never experienced this type of anxiety. I've had anxiety, I think it's been something that I've had for a few years, but to the point that I've have it now, it's kind of like reminding myself, like, you do have a purpose, and being able to not have anxiety of like what's to come, because usually it's because I don't know what is coming, right? Or I want to be as prepared as possible, but because things are so uncertain, I think being able to be more relaxed in that sense has definitely helped me.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, like imagine, well, a lot of people right now are going through difficult times because of work, um, family, just
Mm-hmm.
the presidents, politics, everything. And I mean, even myself, I get stressed a lot of times, and I should take the life of the saints. I should look at them and take from them and see them as models of the way I should be thinking and not let myself be like uh get anxious and remember that a billion things could happen in this world, but at the end of the day, Jesus came, conquered evil, brought us salvation. What do we have to worry about?
Exactly.
So jumping to a different topic, uh you're actually not right now, but before this whole COVID stuff, you actually had a grupo de jóvenes, right?
Yes.
Could you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, we, my husband and I, Marcos and I, we are co-coordinators of a grupo de jóvenes at Our Lady of Guadalupe. So pre-COVID, we would meet every Thursday, and we've actually had it. By that time, it was already almost 2 years that we've had that group. And I absolutely love it. Like, I think it's been very difficult to be able to touch base now because of everything that's happening and things like that. But I think pre-COVID, we would meet every Thursday, and I think that the most important thing for us, or for I can speak for myself, is to be able to meet them where they are. I think many times we expect especially youth to come into a space and act and react like an adult would, even though adults don't react that way either sometimes. But being able to understand where a youth is coming from and being able to be patient, um and caring with them, I think has been something that we've held true, and it's really shown. My youth always reach out to us during this time. They text us, they're how are we doing, how are they doing, and I think that they really miss grupo, and it's just been very difficult. But like I said, pre-COVID, they would love coming and inviting their friends, and we would just for the most part, it was a safe space to be able to have just like team building activities. Yeah, we would do obviously topics and things like that, but it was mostly doing team building activities with other youth that are in the Catholic faith.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, very blunt.
Ask me.
You already went to Jornadas every Saturday for years. Why in the world would you decide to do the same but on a Thursday with a bunch of kids? Not kids, but teenagers.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I was just really excited. So for example, in the organization that I work with, that I work for, we do a lot of youth development. And so we work with youth and things like that. Being at Jornadas has been amazing. Like, I loved going every Thursday, every Saturday.
El primer sábado de cada domingo.
De cada domingo. I wonder who said that. But so, it was a little difficult just because it's kind of like at the week. But, being able to meet with the youth has just been, I don't know, like, it's kind of like, it's inspiring and motivating. And, I don't know why exactly we were like, yeah, let's do it. But I was really pumped. And I'm still really, like, I was really pumped when I was given the opportunity. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And so I guess I always love new opportunities. I love to have new opportunities.
But I know you. I'm of course I know you.
He knows me.
I hope I know you. No, I was gonna say the word I'm gonna assume, but I remember once you told me don't assume because
you can make an S out of you and me.
And I do not want to do that. But what I was gonna say is it kind of sounds like the work that you do, and with Jornadas, with your job, all this outside stuff, it's all connected in a way.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that like you enjoy? What, like, you talked a little bit about it. Like, does it bring life into you working with developing the development of young adults or young teenagers or youth in general?
I think that based on my experience, like growing up, and it kind of goes back to being a first generation college student. I always needed that support myself. Like growing up, I thankfully had my family. They've always been there, and it's I have nothing to say or complain about my family at all. But also think that I needed a support system outside my family. And I've been going to UNI, or to Urban Neighborhood Initiative, since I was 12. So I've been part of that community for a very long time. And all of my mentors, the reason why I feel that I am where I am now, it sounds very cliche, but I do meditate.
We're all about cliches.
I love it. Hashtag cliche. Good luck spelling it. But I just think that having those role models helped me so much. And so in a way, maybe not like unconsciously, like I've been trying to be that role model to other people. And so I think that being in Jornadas, one has helped me. I think the reason why I've always gone to Jornadas is because I always learn something new. And being able to learn from others and being able to share a little bit of what I know has also, inspired me. And I think, with the youth, yeah, we go and we, show them a few things, but I also like to learn from their experiences. And I am it's hard sometimes, but I'm a very empathetic person. And so I always take everything to the heart. Like if I hear a story in the news of like some random person getting, some like something happening to that person, I can feel it in my heart. Like, wow, I'm like, or I cannot imagine. And I literally put myself in their shoes to the point where I like get really stressed out. I'm like, oh my, like, and I need to stop doing that because yes, it's good to be empathetic, but not to the point where like now I'm feeling their, their stress.
Yeah, I could relate to that because for those that don't know, I work as an immigration advocate over at CHAS, Community Health and Social Services in Southwest Detroit. And I do a lot of work with victims and survivors of domestic violence. And, take, like you said, sometimes you like hear like their lives and you could like, it's so easy to just take all of that in, and after a while, if you don't like, if you're not careful, it could end up doing harm. Definitely. But it's always good to, reach out to, a therapist or psychiatrists or, family spiritual directors who are going to kind of like get you back into, feeling better. And also just to surround yourself with a group of people who are looking out for you.
Yeah.
And I think I personally feel like I found that with the people in Jornadas. And yeah, I might bully Alejandra a lot of times, but she's actually like very, 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 very kind. She's very, cool person. You should get to know her. She's about to cry now.
Where's a napkin?
But what was I going with that? I don't know. Oh,
dang. Very kind.
You're so kind that it took away my words.
I left you speechless, literally.
But where was I going with
you have Jornadas people and then
you have a group of people who are looking out for you, like her. That perfect example. What would you what would you say to like young adults who perhaps similar to us have been asked or invited to retreats, but we're like, nah, that's not for me?
I would say, think about it. Like, if going to the retreat, is something that you want to do, like, think about what do you have to lose, literally. Like, okay, if I go to this retreat, I'm going to lose some time. I might, I think time is like the biggest thing. But then what do you have to gain? I think being able to do those, pros and cons. And so I think that, but I also think if it's something that you've been, I don't know if you believe in God or if you have a really close relationship with God and you've been asking God for something like a retreat or something, but also think about like, look at the signs. Like we were saying in the beginning, signs could be as clear as day, But if you're not paying attention, it can easily slip off, and there goes your opportunity. So I think that being able to understand what you need, but also being very, very aware of what the opportunities are looking like. Because I think sometimes we get very blinded with social media. We get very blinded with all of the commodities and all of the not the bad things, but things that just take your time and occupy your mind. And so how do you set some time off distractions to be able to listen to the answers that you're looking for? It's funny because when you said that, I thought about a meme. You should probably insert it here now. Where it's like, God, tell me if give me a sign if I should not continue with this, and it's like, stop, don't go. It's like, okay, I should just go. And so like the sign is like right there, but sometimes I'm just choosing not to see it. And so I think it just becomes very obvious when it's not God not telling you the answer or giving you that hint. It's more of me not wanting to see that answer. And so sometimes a retreat, as daunting as it sounds, or as cliche as that sounds, like sometimes a retreat can be the answer. And maybe it won't be the answer, but maybe it'll start to spark some questions that would help you find that answer.
Yeah, now that you bring it up, I want to go to talk about our shameless plug. I have one, and I want to give you one too. So my shameless plug is that this Friday, I'm actually going on a retreat. I think 3-day retreat with to do some stuff. I'll just leave it at that. But to discern my vocation. And so I don't know when you guys are going to listen to this, but your prayers, regardless, they're outside of time. You could pray for me 10 years from now, and I'm sure it would have helped me at this point in time. Speculative theology. Theologians, correct me in the comments. But that's my shameless plug. Please pray for me. And a shameless plug for Alejandra is that UNI is...
we are recruiting members, AmeriCorps members right now. And so if you're interested in applying, I will give Ricardo my contact info and you can reach out. So this AmeriCorps member will be mentoring youth at 5 charter schools in Detroit. And so, yeah, I think I became an AmeriCorps and that's how I got into my role. This is an AmeriCorps state national program, but I think it's an opportunity if you've been, thinking about doing something, working with youth or working with schools. I think this is the time.
So if you hear this 10 years from now,
hopefully we still have the AmeriCorps program. It's our first year, so
hopefully. But you always reach out. You never know. There's a lot of opportunities at UNI, even just to volunteer. They're a great organization. I worked with them during summer. What was it, 2019-20, I think?
Yeah.
I worked with them for a summer with one of their programs, and it was a great time, and I really enjoyed it. And definitely encourage anybody who is interested in doing work in the community to reach out to them.
Definitely. Can I give one shout out?
Go right ahead. No, $50.
Marcos. I'm just kidding. And I think, I love my youth from Our Lady of Guadalupe Youth Group. I love you guys. And I hope you guys are doing well. Continue to pray, continue to read the Bible. And hopefully we will see each other soon, even if it's virtual. Unfortunately.
Stay tuned, my friends.
Yeah.
So I want to close off with one more quote. And it's it's only 3 words, the quote. But the backstory is, as we've mentioned in this show, Joan of Arc was ultimately burned, accused of being a heretic, and of being a witch. And her last words were Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And so I like I said, it might seem like a sad thing to say at the end of a show, but I feel like a lot of us can relate to that, that call of Jesus, because we may not be, being killed right now. Primeramente Dios, hopefully you're still alive and listening to this, but a lot of us perhaps spiritually feel that fire inside of us. And so I just want to invite you to say the name of Jesus. Repeat it. Pray to him. Say, let him know what you're worried about. Speak to him, because what better word to say than the name of the person who brings comfort to us, the one who brought us salvation, the one who is the King of Kings. So please, if you are going through a rough time right now, reach out to someone. You don't have to go through this on yourself. I myself struggle with mental health sometimes, more so than not. But even then, I can always count on the fact that Jesus hears my prayers and that things will get better. So, Ale, do you have any closing words? I know that was a little emotional, a little dark perhaps, but I think they'll appreciate it.
Yes, I think I think I appreciate that as well. We're always learning and growing, and so I'm not perfect, and so I think it's a constant reminder of being able to call out. Sometimes we're like, no nos escucha, like God is not listening, but like have you called him? Like, have you called him by his name? So have you reached out to him personally? Obviously not through the phone or
Oye,
hey,
Jesus.
what's your Twitter? I need
compa.
to send you a message, direct message. But I think sometimes, yes, God listens to our hearts, and like he listens to our inside our mind, to things that we don't even know we're thinking about. But it is also very nice to reach out to him. Like it's nice to have that moment with him, to actually take that time and not expect that, oh, he'll listen to me. Like he knows everything. He should know what I'm going through, even if I don't I don't know what I'm going through. And so it's important to call out his name and to be in constant communication.
Yeah, thank you. Because honestly, even 15 minutes in front of the Blessed Sacrament works miracles. I kid you not. I realized that whenever I start to get when I start to struggle a lot with my mental health, like I'll be like, wait, when was the last time I went in front of the Blessed Sacrament? Oh, maybe when was the last time I went to confession? Oh, maybe there's something there. So who knows? Maybe this is your sign to go to confession, spend some time with Jesus.
Yeah, if you've been praying and came across a podcast because you've been wanting to have answers, he's waiting for you.
Oh man, I love that. He is waiting for you. And we'll leave it at that. Ale, thank you for coming. I mean, it's not like you came. I came to your house.
Thank you for coming,
Thank you
Ricardo,
for being a part of Café con Santos. I like closing these shows with my guest finishing or closing us in prayer. And after that, I say, pray the rosary. You say, pray the rosary. And then together we say, pray the rosary.
Yeah, I'm not going to be like Father Ryan. Not.
Which was on episode
2. Okay, so
Del Padre, del Hijo, del Espíritu Santo.
Amen.
God, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank you for allowing me to be in your presence and to be able to spend this time with Ricardo in his podcast. And I pray that whoever needs to hear these words listens to this podcast or to the other podcast and find what they're looking for, that they find that inspiration to continue. I pray that you care for everyone who is suffering at the moment, who is either hospitalized or who is very ill at home. I pray that they find comfort and that you're able to help them see you during these very difficult times. And then I pray for the youth groups, for Jornadas, for Our Lady of Guadalupe, to be able to strengthen them in their faith, and to be able to have them in union with you. And then I pray for my husband. I pray for our family, to be able to continue to bless us, and we will continue to serve you. Amen.
Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, thank you, Ale. This was episode 5. We did not plan that at all.
No, but I was seeing his arm and I was like, I'm going to.
where was I? I am in your house. Thanks, Ale. No, no, like I was saying, this was episode 5 of Café con Santos. As you will likely see, we now have 2 angles. So you get to see us this way, and then you'll get to see Ale's face from that side. Hopefully in the future, we'll have an angle facing this way. So you'll see my beard, which is growing and is reaching Padre Pio level.
Nice.
Or, you know, a Franciscan level, because the Franciscans, they've got some serious
Could you braid it?
beards. I could probably do it. I like to play with it a lot, but yeah, I like my beard.
Nice.
I know it's not as attractive as, you know, if I trim it down, but I just really like my beard, and at the moment I'm gonna keep letting it grow. You may or may not, by the next episode it might be gone. I won't completely, you never know.
We never know. We
But I invite you guys to go like Café con Santos on Facebook, and then also like us on YouTube and on all the places, I want to say most or all the places where you could listen to a podcast. But please, please, please always remember, pray the rosary.
Pray the rosary.
Pray the rosary. Hey.